If you've been sitting for a long period of time, it's usually good to do some checks of various things. At the moment, I'm going to check the torque on my tires. And you can find that information usually in your chassis manual. Mine in particular, it's under roadside emergencies, and it gives two different tire size type. Mine happens to be the 19.5 wheel, and it gives the amount of torque needed, which is 150 foot-pounds, and I happen to have a torque wrench that goes up to 150 foot-pounds. To adjust the torque on something, you will need a torque wrench. The torque wrench allows you to set how tight a bolt is, basically, if you're not familiar with them. If you're not, I recommend reading a manual that most likely these come with. But basically, to set the torque on this type, you unscrew the bottom to loosen it up, and the base of this actually unscrews and screws in. You'll notice that there's a bunch of numbers on here, 90, 110, 130, 150. Those are foot-pounds. Now keep in mind, if you get a torque wrench, most RV type or large tires are going to be foot-pounds. They do have them in inch-pounds, and those are not generally what you're looking for. So this one goes up to 150 foot-pounds. Fortunately, my tires require them to be torqued to 150. If you have much larger tires, it might be something larger like 180 foot-pounds or more. In that case, you will need a bigger torque wrench. I happen to, right at the end of mine, have enough torque somewhere. To set it, you will want to screw it up to where there's a line, where the line is. And you'll notice that there's numbers along the edge here. You can see the 4, 5, 6. That would, if it was to be torqued to, let's say, for example, 136 pounds, I would screw this in until I hit 0 on the 130 line right there, and then I would go to the 6, and that would be 136 pounds. Mine is 150 pounds, so where that line hits the middle there, I'll put the 0 right at 150 and then tighten up the bottom screw. So now I am set to torque something at 150 pounds. Another thing that the manual will give you, not only how much torque you need, but also, depending upon how many nuts your rig has, what the order of torquing them is, the torque sequence. And I'm going to double check that once I get this wheel cover off. Now, the majority of wheel covers you see are not the nuts, so don't try to torque those down. Your rig might come with a tool such as this, and that's intended to get the hubcap off to expose the tire. You'll notice that some of these look like they might screw. Some of them are fixed and some of them screw. If you find the ones that screw, you basically just put this tool on and give it a twist, and if it twists, you know you got the right one. So these all screw off.
Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey?
Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So those are basically just nuts that hold on that. So there's going to be a few of them. Here's another one, usually directly across from each other. There's two, and this whole rim comes off. So you can see that those nuts are fake, and they just make everything look pretty. These, on the other hand, are the real nuts that hold your tire in place. So I have the 10 lug nut sequence, and so it tells you which one to torque first, second, and third, fourth, respectively. Usually you're going in a diagonal angle. So for example, my first one is up here, the bottom right, and then way down here, bottom left, this one has a little green dot on it for whatever reason, is the second one. And then I would go to the third, which would be that one, and then directly across from that would be the fourth one, and so on and so forth until you've torqued all 10 of the lug nuts.
And what's the purpose of doing this?
You could potentially damage the bolts, which require you, if you tighten them down too tight. If you don't tighten them down tight enough, You could potentially have a wobbly wheel, and people tend to get really upset when their wheels fall off while they're driving. So, of course, every nut is different. The nuts that are on my tire are 13/16. So I have a 13/16 socket, and this is just called an extension. It's a 10-inch extension so that it sticks out past the tire when I have this attached. That goes on torque wrench. Now to torque it, I already stated exactly how to torque it, but put it on the bolt, and I'm going to loosen it first and then torque it to what I need it. So I will loosen the bolt so that it's loose. Now I'm going to switch this and torque it. So you know that it's at the right thing when right up here you'll actually feel it and you'll hear it click. Did you hear that click? So now it's tightened to 150 pounds. So that's one.